me.
Welcome to the Senior Rehab Podcast.
The podcast for rehab clinicians that want to better serve older adults.
And now, your host, Dustin Jones.
Hello, friends. Thank you for the download. I appreciate your time. Today's episode is a very special episode as I'm going to release conversations that I had with some of my classmates at our 5-year physical therapy school reunion. We went to the University of Kentucky and we met at a buddy's outpatient clinic here in Lexington, and we had a good old time, had some beers, had some food, and just talked about our careers so far and what we would tell ourselves 5 years ago. So I know you're going to enjoy those conversations, but before we jump into that, I do want to mention Patreon. Patreon is a website that allows you, the listener of the Senior Rehab Podcast, to directly support the content of the show. I'm using this as a way to allow the listeners, the people that have given over hours and hours and hours of their precious time to listening to this content. I want to give people like you the ability to ask questions, to allow your voice to be heard, and to allow you to influence the future of this podcast. This is not just me talking to people week in and week out. This is a movement of thousands of people that are wanting to push geriatric PT forward. So I encourage you to get involved through Patreon. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. If you go to seniorrehabproject.com, go to the bottom of the homepage, you'll see a bunch of different links. The first link is the free membership. So if you go to that, click on free, and you can get in the private Senior Rehab Project Facebook group, which many of the guests on this show are a part of. And I guarantee you that you can get any question answered in that group. We have tons of very smart, experienced clinicians that have been a huge resource for me. You'll also get on the newsletter as well. If you click on the $1 a month reward, you will get access to the Facebook group, the newsletter. You'll also have your questions answered on the podcast, and you'll also be featured on the team page at seniorrehabproject.com. The $3 a month club gets all the rewards I mentioned before, but they also get to give their input into the direction, the content of the podcast. I will seek out their collective wisdom and then ask them questions and get their feedback and give them a say in where the Senior Rehab Podcast goes from here. And lastly, the $5 a month club gets all the rewards that I've talked about, but they also get access to the Mastermind Meetup. So that is once a month. A group of us get on a conference call, basically, or a video chat, and we talk about anything that we want to, and we do have some structure to it where we address different topics, or we talk about different cases that we had difficulty with, or specific questions. But this is a very motivated group of clinicians that want to come together to sharpen each other's skills and get us to think a little bit differently and help ultimately, improve as professionals. So consider joining the team. Just go to seniorrehabproject.com, go to the bottom of that page, and you'll see links to all the things that I just mentioned. Once again, that is seniorrehabproject.com. All right, without further ado, enough of that stuff. Let's get into the 5-year reunion from the University of Kentucky class of 2011. Corey Child, welcome to the Senior Rehab Podcast.
Hello.
So why do we call you Corey?
That is a nickname back from college.
Okay.
Simply put, it's very phonetic, rolls off the tongue.
It is. I've used it ever since I met you. I never knew why, but where are you? What are you doing nowadays?
So I'm an inpatient rehab therapist at Fraser Rehab in Louisville.
All right. What unit are you on?
The neuro unit, so brain injury and stroke primarily.
Awesome. So 5 years ago, we graduated PT school. What would you tell yourself?
I probably would tell myself not to stress out of trying to find 2 jobs to start with. PRN is not worth it early on, especially when you work in a high-stress environment like inpatient.
Wow.
So,
what was your PRN position?
Acute care, which was fine. I enjoyed working the acute care, but having the half your weekends every month taken up, working 13 days in a row is not for a good therapist you make.
Yeah. I would agree. Thank you, Corey.
No problem.
Danielle Birch, welcome to the Senior Rehab Podcast. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we are at our 5-year PT school reunion. Tell us, what are you up to? Where are you right now?
I work in the acute care setting with primarily neurosurgery patients.
That's awesome. So I'm interested to hear, what would you tell yourself 5 years ago when you were fresh out of PT school going into the real world?
I would tell myself to really initiate learning opportunities and to initiate taking on projects that could help to further and better our field and partnering with other disciplines to help accomplish that.
What, for you personally, what has been the fruit of that? Why is that worth pursuing?
This year in particular, I've had the opportunity to do and to present some research, and I've really, through that, had the opportunity to speak to other professionals about the benefits of physical therapy, particularly in the rehabilitation of strokes and traumatic brain injuries, and been able to help justify some of our services in the hospital to obtain more resources for my team in terms of providing better quality of care and having more therapists to service our patients.
Yeah. That sounded really good. She did not script that, folks. That is right off the dome. Well, it's true, though, because people don't have a freaking clue what we do, especially in the hospital, because all we do is walk people, right? Or move around their legs. Yeah. But yeah, it's important stuff. So thank you for doing that, and keep at it.
Yeah, thank you.
Jeff Musgrave, welcome to the Senior Rehab Podcast. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So we're here at the 5-year PT reunion. Jeff is the best man at my wedding, a fellow home healther, a bubby, a good friend. Jeff, what are you up to nowadays in your career?
Well, I've actually taken the long way around to home health, started in inpatient rehab on the stroke unit. I moved into outpatient orthopedics, have been pursuing my McKinsey treatment, MDT certification, and now I'm headed into home health.
Woo woo. That's right. Which we're going to do a separate podcast on that topic. But I'm curious, what would you tell yourself 5 years ago?
I would tell myself to not sweat the small stuff and just focus on patient care and soaking up as much as I can from every class and every setting possible, because it all relates almost in every situation.
What for you? What's the small stuff that you focus on?
Documentation, dotting I's, crossing T's.
Yeah.
Someone's going to make sure you get that stuff done so you get paid. So focus on how to get your patients better and learn how to think.
Yeah, I like that. Now, Jeff's wife, Kara, is here as well. Kara, what would you tell Jeff 5 years ago?
I told him this 5 years ago, but he wanted to be the best PT in the world, and he didn't believe that he was at the time. And I think I would tell him now that you just need to be the best PT that you can with the skills that you have and the things that you know and the education you have right now in the moment. And that you're going to grow from there, but you're not going to be perfect all at once. It's all about improving. It's not about being perfect.
Preach it. Natalie Collins, you're awesome. How are you?
I'm great. Take 2. Take 3.
Yeah, this is the third take of this little segment as my batteries died on my microphone.
The first 2 were the best. The first 2 were the best.
They were. So, Natalie, what are you doing? Where are you?
I'm still over there in Denver, Colorado, living in Golden, Colorado, working in an outpatient clinic and doing bike fitting.
All right.
Yeah.
What's your bike fitting business called?
I told you this was not the best take, Dustin. My bike fit business is pedalfitpt.com.
Okay. I encourage everyone to check out pedalfitpt.com. It's a beautiful website. Kudos, by the way. Awesome photos, very informative, and you can find Natalie's contact information if you need help, if you're in the front range there. But, Natalie, what would you tell yourself 5 years ago?
Be easier on yourself.
Why?
Well, when you're hard on yourself, you're going to be harder on other people, and then you're not going to learn as much from other folks.
I could take that advice, Natalie.
Oh, yes.
John Smorrell, welcome to the Senior Rehab Podcast. Thank you for your time.
Well, thanks for having me.
So listeners know John pretty well, I feel like. I've told several stories about him from our days living together in PT school. He's the one that wanted to own a diner someday. That was his reason for PT. Amazing cook, amazing physical therapist, all around good guy. But let's hear, what are you up to now? Where are you?
I'm a co-owner of a small outpatient physical therapy clinic in Lexington, Kentucky. BBN Physical Therapy, shout out. Woo woo! Woo woo! We're going to open up a second clinic here in a couple months, and I'm just doing a little bit of PRN work on the side, as I do not like to treat in the outpatient setting.
Interesting. You are a fellow home healther, so cheers to that.
Cheers.
Cheers. So, I'm curious, what would you tell the John Smorrell 5 years ago?
Well, 5 years ago, I would have been a couple years too late. But I would have probably, let's say 8 years ago, I would have looked at the debt-to-income ratio as a physical therapist. I feel like as a whole, the amount that I spend in tuition, I'm not going to be able to pay back as a physical therapist. I'm kind of pushing my career path towards the business side because I don't think I'll ever really pay that off. So I probably would have said, hey, what's up with PA or MD or MBA or a different career path? Not because I don't like the job, but because I just feel like it's an underpaid job for what we have to do.
Yeah. But then you wouldn't have met me, Smorrell.
That's the biggest downfall, but, I would have found you.
Thank you, sir. As you can tell, I've had several beers at this point, and my microphone had died. So the audio quality of these next two conversations is pretty poor, but I think you can pick up on what Braden and Casey have to say. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. I try to edit as much as I can, but this is the end result. So I apologize. Okay. Braden Plowman, cheers, buddy.
Cheers, man.
All right. What are you drinking?
It's more Russell Reserve. 10-year-old bourbon.
All right. What do I have? I have a Founders All Day IPA. So we are at our 5th year PT school reunion. And Braden's a good buddy. We had a lot of good times back in the day. But I want to ask him a question, and everyone else as well. But Braden, tell us, just kind of give us a quick and dirty. What are you up to right now? What do you do? What setting are you in? Just kind of give us that background.
All right. Well, like I said, 5 years out. I'm still with the same company I started with right out of PT school. I was a staff PT for a couple years, and then went to clinic director for a couple years, and now I've been regional director for a couple years. So I now manage 5 locations. And the newest thing is I'm starting to become ECS certified.
Okay.
Awesome. But the biggest challenge for me is the business aspect of things. It's always been something I've been interested in. And that's probably what I would tell myself 5 years ago is things related to that. Because I think it's so important for us to be able to continue physical therapy as a career, to have good business minds. So, number one, I would tell myself to maintain relationships. It's too easy to get into a rut of just go to work, come home, go to work, come home. Okay. Those relationships are important for several reasons. Both personal and also from a business standpoint. The other thing is read more. I've never been a big reader. I've always kind of been a bull in a china shop kind of guy, going there and figure it out as you go. But as we get older and things get more specialized, you can't afford as many mistakes. And so I would tell myself to read more about things I don't understand, so that when I do tackle something, I tackle them with efficiency and purpose, as opposed to just going in and trying really hard. It doesn't work all the time.
Right. Are you saying it's hard to read now, being a regional director and being married and having a kid? Is it hard to find time? It should be easy, right? Just to pick a book up.
Yeah, well, sure. If I could drive and read at the same time, because I'm not I don't learn by listening. I learn by reading, about looking and actually physically touching and reading a book. So actually, I've been on some time.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your advice, sir. Keep doing what you're doing, man.
Cheers, brother.
All right.
This is Casey Karras signing into Dustin Jones's phone. I work in outpatient in Nicholasville. And advice I would give myself, don't buy Starbucks every single day because you're going to pay 8% on it 5 years later.
Hit me. Thank you for listening to the Senior Rehab Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, you should hop on over to seniorrehabproject.com to find more helpful content. You can also find out how you can join the team and be a part of the private Facebook group, the monthly mastermind meetup, and have a say in the content and direction of this podcast. Once again, that's seniorrehabproject.com. I appreciate you, and I'll talk with you soon. But in the meantime, do not forget to stay funky.